Hi, Namaste and welcome. My name is Tanya Copprue-Lanham, and I'm the author of Under the Mango Tree, A Spiritual Way of Living Mary, and also the book, The Secret of the Masculine and Feminine Energies, A Guide to Healing Relationships. Today is all about you, and I feel charged with the energy of the Creator, charged with life, charged with the Spirit of God, charged with all of the energy around me to bring this message to you today. Think of today as a conversation between sisters, a conversation with an old mother or one of the women of the church, or even just your neighbor. Think of it today as a conversation with someone just like you, someone who has something to share that just might change your life, that just might point you into a different direction, or that just might ring a bell. Today is a day all about you. So I'm going to talk about some things, and I think these are very prevalent and very critical for the world today. Number one, I'm going to talk about women in general, and particularly African American women, black women. I'm also going to talk about the fountain of youth, or the alleged fountain of youth for women wanting to stay young and vital. I'm going to also talk about relationships and marriage and love, because that's very important for us as women, people in general. But we are designed to nurture and to become cohesive as units, as women. So we'll talk about that, and then we're going to talk about what happens after that. Hopefully, fertility. So we're going to talk about those four things, and then I'm going to talk about what the connection is to those four things and why they're so important. So the first thing we're going to talk about is women and relationships. Women and the fountain of youth, I mean. Women today spend so much money on cosmetics, perfume. They get, some even go to the extremes of getting plastic surgery. Some want to get a new booty. We spend a great deal of time and energy on trying to care about our outside appearance, but we don't notice and try to acknowledge or work on what's going on the inside, which is, in my opinion, even more important. It's important to know who you are in here and what you have to offer yourself and then others. And I think so many of us women today, we are, and there's nothing wrong with looking great and exercising. We're supposed to do that. There's nothing wrong with us, enhancing the beauty that we already have. There's nothing wrong with that. But if we only look at what's going on the outside and we don't look at what's going on the inside, we have an incongruency. We have what I like to talk about and what I like to say is we have a cognitive incongruence. And that means we think one thing, but our behavior does another. Or in the case of what's going on in the inner and outer worlds not matching us, we have an appearance of being all together. We have an appearance in our jobs of being career oriented. We have an appearance of being this great wife. We have an appearance of being a great mom. But on the inside, we're suffering and we're angry. On the inside, we have this sense of self-hatred. On the inside, we don't necessarily like who we even are. And that's a problem. And then we become stressed and we become ill, and it's too late. And that's what happens to a lot of us women. We really don't know how to take the time to discover what's going on inside of us that will bring us the kind of peace, that will bring us the kind of love and the kind of light energy that will change us. For example, there are women today who spend a great deal of time and energy on being caretakers of everyone else. They'll care for their moms, they'll care for their sisters, and there's nothing wrong with that. Their husbands, their children. But how many women take the time to come out and sit out and enjoy their own lives and just to breathe? How many women take the time just to figure out who they are and what they want? And we can truly have anything that we want, but it all begins with figuring out who we are inside, what's bothering us, and what are some of the things we like to accomplish in life. I know for me personally, there's a lot of soul work and soul searching that I needed to do in order to get to the point where I could assist anyone else. And that was by meditating, that was by praying, that came by journal writing, and that came by being truthful with myself and saying, what is it that's making me angry at this particular individual? Or what is it that's making me disturbed by a circumstance? You have to ask yourself at times when you're going through things with another human being, and let's say with your man, because that's what this book is about, is relationships. If you're going through issues with your man or your husband and you want to know, well, why is he doing that? You really can't find out why he's doing a particular thing. You can only figure out yourself. And then once you figure out yourself, your perception of who he is may change. It usually does. So you might want to ask me, how do we figure out how perceptions change? Our perceptions change when you take a detailed analysis of who you are. How do you figure out who you are? It takes a long time to do that soul searching. One of the things you can do is you can begin to ask yourself some questions. What is my purpose? What do I want to accomplish in life? Where do I want to be in, let's say, 2 years? Where do I want to be in 3 years? Where do I want to be in 4 years, 5 years? Write these things down. Begin to have a conversation with yourself. Begin to ask yourself, what did I want to do as a little girl that maybe I'm not doing now? What do I want to give to the world? What do I want to give to myself? The more you begin to have a conversation with yourself, the better your chances of getting to really know who you are. And you really have to be someplace where you can have a sense of peace and you won't be disturbed. So you need to make time out for yourself. And so many of us, we don't make time out for ourselves. So that's one of the other things that I find is very important, is we must make time for ourselves. We must make time to just sit down and say, I'm not going to take that call right now. Sit down and say, no, you know what, I'm not going to take that. I'm not going to go to that party or that meeting right now. Right now it's about me. And, find a little time, have someone watch the kids, take 15, 30 minutes. It's all it takes. And just sit down and breathe and relax and ask yourself some serious questions and begin to write them down. And that's how you begin to have a conversation with yourself. And the rest will follow. The other thing you need to do is, if you don't have a relationship with your higher power, your higher self, I call him God. Some people call him Source. Whatever your connection is with your higher power, with him or her, then if you don't have that connection, it's very, very difficult to really get to know who you are. Because one of the other things I'm going to talk about today and in a little while later is how who you are is not really who you think you are. There's a connection, and that connection is with spirit. Women and spirit. As I was saying before, when you want to find out who you are as a woman, there's a whole connection piece that you need to work on. And one of those things that you need to understand is that you're not just a body. You're not just a physical entity, a physical person. You have your intellect. You have your emotional body. You have your spirit, which is the most important out of the four. It's mind, body, emotion, and spirit, or you can say soul. That is truly the essence of who you are. We are not just a physical body. We are spirit. We are soul. And I think today a lot of women are shying away from that. and they think that maybe just going to church or just having religion and that makes me spiritual. Well, spirituality and religion are two totally different things. They're not the same. And you're spiritual by birthright. You don't need to go to a church. You don't need to go to a mosque. You don't need to belong to a congregation. And there's nothing wrong with belonging to a congregation. There's nothing wrong with going to a mosque or going to church. By no means am I saying that. Keep your religious path if that's where you are in life. But what I'm saying is that you're spiritual by birthright. By divine right, you are a child of the Most High God. You are a child of the Creator. And being that you are a child of the Creator, you then are also spirit. And your spiritual self, many of us have no clue what that is or who that is. And so I want to just say that as women, we need to separate our higher self from our lower self. Your higher self is your soul, your spiritual body. That's who you are in the spiritual realm. That's who you are before you came to this planet known as Earth. Your lower self is your ego self. That is your human personality. What you probably identify as who you are is just your ego self. Those two selves are always war with each other. You always find that your ego self is going to war with your spiritual self. Your ego self, your personality, is going to tell you, no, you can't do that. You can't start that new business. You can't have that new career. Go through your boyfriend or your husband's wallet, or because you suspect something. Your ego self is going to always tell you, or be jealous. It's always going to tell you something's wrong. Its life is about fear, as I talked about in my first book. So whenever you feel fearful, or whenever you feel afraid, or whenever you feel doubtful, or any type of negative energy, that's your ego self. That's fear, because the ego loves fear. Whenever you feel at peace, whenever you feel serene, whenever you feel love, whenever you feel light, that is your higher self. Whenever you feel as though you're on top of the world and you feel joy, that is your higher self. And how you connect with that, that's how you tell the difference between the two. How you connect with the higher self, again, is through prayer. Prayer is asking Source or asking the Creator questions. And Zora Neale Hurston has said there are years that ask questions, and there's years that answers. So sometimes you may pray or talk to God about something, your higher self, and you may not get the answer that you want right away. It'll come later. But by all means, that communication needs to take place. The more you communicate, the more you pray or chant. You can even chant. Is the more you write. You can write in a journal how you feel about things and what's, you ask the questions. I want to hear from my higher self. What is my purpose? What am I here to do? That's how you find out who you are. That's how you learn. And when you want to hear God, when you want to hear the Creator, what you do is you meditate. Praying is asking, and meditating is hearing God. And so you meditate, you want to get quiet, you want to take some time for yourself, you want to relax, you want to go someplace like a beautiful park or sit under your favorite tree, and you just want to be at peace. And you want to just write down some things that you want to focus on. You get really still and you clear your mind and you think of absolutely nothing. If the monkey mind comes, you just stay out. Tell those things to just leave you alone, and you just move on. And these things are some of the things you can do to focus on finding out who you are as a spiritual woman. Because that's important, is to know who you are as a spiritual woman. Because many of us don't. We only know, again, our physical self. We spend thousands of dollars on cosmetics, like I said before. We spend lots of money on enhancing our outer body, but we don't know our inner selves. And those are just some of the ways that we as women can get to know who we are as a woman of spirit. Relationships and fertility. Once you have an understanding of who you are as a woman spiritually, that's really when it's the best timing to consider a relationship. Because if you don't really understand who you are as a woman, and you don't really understand your spiritual self, it's very difficult to connect with a man and attract what you really want. Because what you really want to attract are variables and attributes and character traits that are in alignment with your own. Because like attracts like. For example, if you want to attract a man who is committed, who is loving, who is honest, who is caring, you yourself also must be committed, loving, honest, and caring. Like attracts like. If you want to attract someone who is faithful, who is a good provider, who is, goal oriented, who's a good father, you must be a good mom. You must be goal oriented. You must be these things. I mean, you're not going to attract your spitting image, because that wouldn't be any fun. That's kind of boring. But essentially what you're going to attract is who you are. And a lot of times what's happening is because we don't know who our spiritual selves, who we are spiritually. Women are attracting men on a shallow level. Again, if your focus is only on the fountain of youth, preserving yourself, staying young, having this great body, you want to look your best, but if your focus is always on the physical, you're going to attract someone probably with the same characteristics or the same shallowness. I mean, so I always tell people, in all walks of life, or when I'm doing a session or having clients, I always tell women, instead of asking the man, what do you do for a living? What about asking them, who are you and how are you living? That's the real key. Who are you and how are you living? Are you righteous? Are you living conscious? Because that's very important. So once you know who you are spiritually, then you can begin to attract someone with the same spiritual vibrations. And it's universal law that states that if two objects or people or things or matter or whatever come into the same alignment, if they are similar, if they share the same essence or the same vibrations, they the one with the larger vibration, the other must come into alignment with that same vibration. So that's called the law of resonance. And what that means is that if you have a high vibration and you attract someone whose vibration at the time is not very high, as long as his essence, his core, his spirit has the potential to expand and have a high vibration, then he must come in resonance with you. If you are attracting a man who has a very high spiritual vibration and yours is a little low right now because you haven't really done the healing work and you don't really know who you are spiritual, it's spiritual law of resonance that his vibration, your vibration has to come into alignment with his. And so that's a little much for now, but I just want to talk about that a little bit, about resonance, because that's so important when you are trying to select a mate or have someone in your life, because you don't want to go ahead and start saying, I want this, I want that, and you don't have anything to give yourself. Or you don't have anything to offer. You don't come into a relationship saying, I want this, I want that. You come in with the spirit of giving, the spirit of joy, saying, I am complete. I am whole as a woman, and this is who I am, and this is what I have to offer. And then, that individual can either, vibe with you and say, yes, I understand what you have to offer. This is who I am, what I have to offer. And you match, and you consciously create the life you want together. And that's how it should be. But that can't happen, again, if we, as women, don't take the time to know who we are. And after we connect and we find someone who we vibrate with, before we decide to have a baby with that person, and that's what I'm talking about fertility, is we need to understand an aspect of being a sacred woman is your sacred vessel. Your womb is the seat of the soul. Your womb is holy. this is the sacred gateway to all creation. So you don't want to just give that sacred gateway to just anyone. You want to make sure that you understand that when two people come together to create, that you're coming together with energies. And if that person has a negative energy and you bring them on into your life, you then take on that energy. And what does that do to your womb? It pollutes it. And there's a lot of women walking around, and I want to say an unholy womb is a tomb. The womb is sacred, and it's something you want to keep sacred. It's something you want to respect and honor and take care of and nurture and nourish, so that when you get ready to have children, you won't have various fertility issues. You won't have to worry about negative energy surrounding your pregnancy. You can deliver, you can conceive, you can carry, you can deliver beautiful children of light without any negative influences between you and your spouse. You don't want to have that karma thing going on. You want to have peace, and you want to have a relationship that's reflecting that. So before you can even get into fertility and trying to understand how some of those issues take place, and we're not going to talk about all of that right now because it's a little much in this segment, but the next time I do a segment we will talk more about fertility. But I just want to talk about how important it is for women to understand when they're entering in a relationship is to talk to whoever their partner is, their husband, and talk about where are you spiritually. Do you understand that my womb is holy? Do you have a lot of sexual partners? Are you a committed person? Make sure you have the same values, the same goals. Make sure that you're aligned spiritually, and ask them, who are you spiritually? Do you understand who you are spiritually? Because that's very important. And again, I'm not speaking about religion here. I'm talking about your divine birthright as being a spiritual person, because that's very, very important. And we really, really, really want to connect on that higher level, because that's what makes these beautiful children of light. That's what creates these beautiful, loving individuals who are already spiritually in tune, who are coming out and they know their purpose and they're gifted and they know what they want to do. And these children are all over the world. They're being born, but we can contribute to that. And we as women have to do that by understanding who we are as women spiritually, by understanding the difference between our higher self and our ego self, by understanding how to select a mate, not based on physical attributes alone, but the man's purpose. And if our purposes are aligning together, we can work together by our value systems. And then understanding that our wombs are sacred and our wombs are precious, and that we don't just want to go off and give ourselves away so easily without understanding how precious and how sacred our wombs are. If you'd like to learn more about the sacred vessel of a woman, and if you'd like to learn more about how you can connect and become more spiritual, and how you can change your life and just be at peace and have love, please visit my website at www.tanyacopprue.com, and also the Sacred Vessel, www.sacredvessel.webs.com. And there's a whole host of information on the Sacred Vessel about womb healing and fertility. And TanyaCopprue.com gives you information on my books, which teach about the secret of the masculine and feminine energies, a guide to healing relationships. Talks all about how to preserve relationships, how to find out different things, the difference between a man and a woman, and how we can connect and have beautiful, healthy relationships. And my first book, Under the Mango Tree, A Spiritual Way of Living Married, which teaches on how to just have a peaceful and joyful life and be spiritually vibrant. It teaches how to be a holistic person, how to have a healthy mind, a healthy body, a healthy emotions, and a healthy spirit. My name is Tanya Copprue-Lanham, and thank you for spending this
this time with me and allowing me to share some things with you. It has been a pleasure and a joy. And I'm just so happy to have been able to give you this message today. Namaste.